Well, welcome to the Friday devotional. John Miller here, and this is Good Friday 2026. And what I'd like to do is walk through the morning, that Friday morning, what took place with Jesus before his accusers. Uh, in between 4 and 6 a.m., it's estimated, Jesus is interrogated by Annas and Caiaphas. And these are the Jewish high priests. So these are the Jews that are accusing Jesus, and they accuse him of blasphemy. And so from 6 to 8 a.m., he's taken over to Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor, because the Jews they can't crucify, they can't kill anyone. They have to put it into the hands of the Romans, because the Romans control the judicial system. And so they take him over to the Roman governor, Pilate, and Pilate sends him to Herod Antipas, who later sends him back to Pilate. So this is all happening between 6 a.m., 6 and 8 a.m. in the morning. Between 8 and 9, Pilate declares that Jesus is innocent. But due to the pressure of the crowd and fear of a riot, he releases Barabbas and sentences Jesus to be crucified. So Jesus is, at this point, is severely scourged and mocked by the soldiers, and in place of a crown of thorns on his head. And then at 9 a.m., is when they take Jesus to the cross. And I want to pick it up here in Scripture, where it says, "Then the soldiers of the governor took Jesus, led him away into the court that is called the Praetorium, and they summoned together their whole battalion to confront him. And when they stripped him, they clothed him with purple and placed around him a crimson cloak." Now, what I'm reading from is the Life of Christ in stereo, that takes all four Gospels and blends them together, so we hear everything the Gospels have to say about this event. And putting a crown of thorns, they put it on his head and placed a reed in his right hand, and bowing their knees in homage before him, kept mocking him, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews!" And they spat upon him. They took the reed and struck him on his head. I can imagine he's got this crown of thorns on his head, and they're hitting him with reeds on the head. And after mocking him, they stripped him of the cloak, the purple garments, and put on him his own clothing, and then led him away to be crucified. And now we come to the place called Golgotha, where all four Gospels have something to say. "And he went forth bearing his own cross. But as they were proceeding on out, they found a man of Cyrene," which is probably from North Africa, Libya perhaps, "a man of Cyrene who was passing by, Simon by name, he's the father of Alexander and Rufus, coming in from the country. And they seized him and laid him on the cross, compelling him to carry the cross." So he didn't do it voluntarily, apparently. And he bore that cross behind Jesus as Jesus was led. Remember, Jesus has been beaten and brutalized, probably can barely walk at this time. "And there were following him a great multitude of people and of women who also were bewailing and lamenting him. But Jesus, turning to them, said, 'Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me, but for yourselves and for your children. For behold, days are coming in which they will say, Blessed are the barren, and the wombs which never bore, and the breasts which never nursed. And then they will begin to say to the mountains, Fall on us, and to the hills, cover us. For if they do these things in the tree that is green, what will happen in the dry?' And two others also, who were evildoers, were led away with him to be put to death. And when they brought him to the place called the Skull, which is called in the Hebrew Golgotha, they offered him vinegar to drink mixed with myrrh, but when he tasted it, he would not drink it. There they crucified him, and it was about 9 o'clock. But Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they're doing. And with him they crucified the evildoers, two robbers, one on either side of Jesus, with Jesus between them. And the scripture was fulfilled, which says, and he was numbered with the transgressors. And Pilate also wrote an inscription, and they put it on the cross above his head. And his accusation was written, "This is Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews." Many, therefore, of the Jews read the inscription, for the place where Jesus was crucified was near the city. And it was written in Hebrew and Greek and Latin. So the chief priests of the Jews said to Pilate, Don't write that. The King of the Jews? But he said, apparently Pilate is saying, but he said, I am the King of the Jews. Pilate answered, what I have written, I have written. The soldiers, therefore, when they had crucified Jesus, took his garments and made 4 parts to each soldier a part, without the tunic, casting lots to what part each should take. But the tunic was seamless, woven from the top throughout. So they said to each other, let us not tear it, but cast lots for it to see whose it shall be, that the scripture might be fulfilled in Psalm 22:18. They divided my garments among themselves, and for my raiment they cast lots. These things, therefore, the soldiers did. And sitting down, they kept guard of him there, and the people stood beholding the sight. And those passing by kept railing at Jesus, wagging their heads and saying, "Ah, you who would destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, save yourself. If you are the Son of God, come down from the cross." And likewise also the chief priests mocking him to one another with scribes and elders, and they said, he saved others, himself he cannot save. Let him save himself if he is the Christ, the chosen one of God. If he is the King of Israel, let the Messiah, the King of Israel, come down now from the cross, that we may see and believe in him. He trusted in God, let him deliver him now, if he desires him, for he said, I am the Son of God. And the soldiers also kept mocking him. Boy, everybody's mocking him, coming to him and offering him sour wine and saying, if you are King of the Jews, save yourself. Now the robbers also who were crucified with him began to reproach him in the same manner. And one of the hanged evildoers kept railing him and saying, if you are the Messiah, save yourself and us. But the other answered and rebuked him, saying, do you not even fear God, since you are under the same condemnation? And we indeed justly, for we are receiving due rewards for our own deeds. But this man did nothing amiss. And he said to Jesus, Lord, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And Jesus said to him, verily I say to you, today shall you be with me in paradise. And it was about 12 noon. And there were standing by the cross of Jesus, his mother and his mother's sister, also Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. And when Jesus therefore saw his mother and the disciples whom he loved standing nearby, which would be John, he said to his mother, woman, behold your son. And then he said to the disciples, behold your mother. And from that hour, the disciples took her into his own home. Well, that was John. Now from the noontime, there was darkness over the land till 3 p.m, and the sun was obscured. And at 3 o'clock, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, saying, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, which being translated is, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? And some of those standing there, when they heard it, said, behold, this man is calling Elijah, because it sounds similar in the Hebrew. Upon this, Jesus, knowing that all things were now ended, said that the scripture might be fulfilled, I thirst. Now a vessel full of sour wine was standing there, and one of them ran at once, and taking a sponge, filling it with wine, put it on a hyssop stalk, and brought it to his mouth, saying, and the other said, permit this, let us see if Elijah will come to take him down and save him. Jesus could have called 10,000 angels, but he didn't, because he was willing to die for you and me. And then Jesus, therefore, on receiving the wine, cried out again with a loud voice, "It is finished." And he bowed his head and said, "Father, into thy hands I commit my spirit." And having said these things, he yielded up his spirit. Now the centurion who stood confronting him nearby, when he saw that he cried out thus and then expired, glorified God by saying, "Truly, this was a righteous man." On this day, 2,000 years ago, God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him may have everlasting life. Oh, that many would come to know Jesus this Easter season. And on Sunday, many will come who do not know the Lord. And let's just be in prayer that this year the eyes will be opened and they will see how much love, this much love, that Jesus has. Wow. What a day, this Good Friday. Well, hope to see many of you on Sunday, worshiping the Lord on Easter Sunday, praising God for the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Bye-bye.